Hey everyone. Where are you all tuning in from today? Drop your location in the comments below. We love to hear from all of you. Welcome back to Unheard Stories, the place where we bring you the most jaw-dropping tales of cheating, revenge, and unforgettable life lessons. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon, because today's story is going to have you on the edge of your seat. Now, I know you're all ready for the intense, wild ride we have in store. But before we dive into the drama, let me ask you this. What would you do if you found out your partner had been cheating on you? Could you forgive them? Or would you take matters into your own hands? Well, that's exactly what happened in today's story, but trust me, what followed was anything but ordinary. Imagine discovering not just one betrayal, but a series of lies that tore apart everything you thought you knew about love and loyalty. But here's the twist. What happens next is something you never saw coming. It's a tale of betrayal, vengeance, and the shocking consequences that will leave you questioning everything. So sit tight, because this story might just change how you view relationships forever. And hey, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. We've got more unbelievable stories coming your way and you don't want to miss out. Leave a like if you're ready to dive deep into today's story and let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your opinions. Could you relate to what's about to unfold? Alright, enough with the build-up, let's get into it. This is the story of Sarah and Jason, two seemingly perfect people who were living the dream until the truth came crashing down. Buckle up, because the drama starts now. Meet Sarah, a vibrant woman in her late 20s who on the surface had it all. A successful career in marketing, a loyal circle of friends, and a loving boyfriend, Jason. Sarah was driven, passionate about her work, and always put others before herself. But there was a part of her life she kept hidden from everyone. Her deep-seated desire for excitement, for something more than the routine. She often found herself daydreaming about the kind of life that was unpredictable, thrilling, and full of surprises. Jason, on the other hand, was her opposite in many ways, calm, steady, and dedicated to his relationship with Sarah. He was an architect, someone who loved the stability of a well-planned life. He adored Sarah, believed in their future together, and was convinced she was the one. But as time passed, something started to shift. Sarah began feeling trapped in the predictability of her life, the everyday monotony that came with her job and her relationship. Despite the love she had for Jason, there were moments when she wondered if there was more to life than what she had. Jason, ever the loving partner, started noticing changes in Sarah. Late nights at work, distant glances, and a growing emotional gap between them. Meanwhile, Sarah had met someone else, someone who made her feel alive again. His name was Mark, and he was everything Jason wasn't. Spontaneous, daring, and deeply passionate. Mark was the kind of man who could sweep Sarah off her feet with a single glance, and he did just that. Their affair began slowly at first. Innocent flirtation, lunch breaks turned into hours of conversation. But soon it escalated. What started as an emotional escape became something more, something that Sarah wasn't ready to admit even to herself. As the affair grew, so did the guilt, but she was torn between the life she'd built with Jason and the thrill she craved with Mark. Little did Jason know, the woman he loved had already crossed a line, and everything was about to change. It all started innocently enough. Sarah had always believed in the idea of soulmates, of finding one person to share everything with. But when she met Mark, something shifted. Mark was a friend of a friend, someone Sarah never expected to be so magnetic. At first, it was just the way he smiled at her, a smile that seemed to understand her in a way Jason never could. They exchanged casual pleasantries at a social event, then more meaningful conversations during work lunches. Sarah found herself drawn to him. His easy confidence, his energy, and the way he made her laugh in a way she hadn't laughed in months. But it wasn't just the fun, it was the excitement. With Mark, every moment felt like a new adventure. She was no longer the hard-working, predictable woman she had been in Jason's world. With Mark, she felt alive again, as if the world was full of possibilities. It started as harmless flirtation, brief touches, lingering glances, and inside jokes. But the lines began to blur when they started texting each other outside of work. What started as a friendly conversation quickly became something more, a shared secret, a connection that deepened with every passing day. Sarah tried to tell herself it was just a fling, that nothing serious would happen. But then one night, when Jason was out of town for a work trip, Mark invited her over to his apartment. The moment Sarah stepped inside, the atmosphere felt different, electric, charged with tension. They had dinner, talked about everything and nothing, but when Mark reached out to touch her hand, the dam broke. It wasn't a rushed kiss, it was slow, deliberate, and full of unspoken longing. In that moment, Sarah knew it was more than just physical attraction. It was something deeper, something she couldn't deny. She pulled away, unsure of what she was doing, but Mark simply smiled and whispered, "There's no going back now, Sarah." The next few weeks passed in a blur. What had started as a stolen kiss turned into secret meetings, late-night conversations, and stolen moments of passion. Jason, meanwhile, remained completely oblivious, believing Sarah was just busy with work, unaware that the woman he trusted had begun to unravel their entire future. The guilt weighed heavily on Sarah, but with every stolen moment with Mark, she couldn't help but crave more. Jason's absence only made the affair feel more intense. Mark was the fire that Sarah had been searching for, and soon she was addicted to the thrill of it all. But what Sarah didn't realize was that her double life was about to come crashing down in ways she could never have imagined. Jason had always prided himself on being the good guy, the one who could be counted on, the one who loved without question. But even the most loyal heart has its breaking point. He had no idea that his world was about to shatter. It was a random comment from a close friend that first made him suspicious, something about Sarah's late nights and her increasingly distracted demeanor. But Jason shrugged it off at first. He trusted her. However, as time went on, small things started to add up. The way Sarah would avoid eye contact when they spoke, the way she was always on her phone, texting at odd hours. There were whispers in the back of his mind, but it wasn't until one fateful evening that everything came to light. Jason had decided to surprise Sarah with a romantic dinner at home. He had taken the day off work, planned everything meticulously, candlelight, her favorite food, and the promise of a quiet evening, just the two of them. But when he walked through the front door, it wasn't Sarah waiting for him. Instead, he found her phone buzzing with a new message from Mark. The name alone was enough to send a chill down Jason's spine. His heart raced as he unlocked the phone, his fingers trembling. The messages were innocent at first, nothing overtly suspicious. But as he scrolled, the tone of their conversation shifted. Sweet nothings, flirtatious comments, and then the bombshell, "Can't wait to see you tonight, Sarah. I miss you." Jason froze. The betrayal hit him like a freight train, and suddenly, everything made sense. The distance, the late nights, the lies. It was all there in black and white. His world, which had been built on trust, came crashing down in an instant. The first wave of anger came quickly, followed by the devastating ache of heartbreak. But what came next surprised even him: revenge. Jason wasn't just going to let this go. He didn't know what he was going to do yet, but one thing was certain: Sarah would regret this. It was time to turn the tables. Jason wasn't about to be the victim in his own story. The plan began to form in his mind slowly, carefully, like a chess game being set up. He had seen Sarah's vulnerabilities, her desires, and now he would use them against her. He would make her feel the same pain that she had caused him. But Jason wasn't going to be reckless about it. No, this had to be perfect. The right moment, the right words. He would make Sarah realize what she had thrown away, and he would make sure Mark paid the price too. Jason wasn't interested in a petty revenge, no. He wanted something that would make Sarah and Mark regret their actions for the rest of their lives. The night of revenge arrived faster than Jason expected. He had meticulously planned every detail, carefully choosing the moment when both Sarah and Mark would be caught off guard. He knew exactly how to strike where it would hurt the most. When Sarah came home that evening, everything seemed normal at first, too normal, like nothing had changed. But as soon as she walked in the door, she felt the tension in the air, thick and heavy. Jason was sitting on the couch, his expression unreadable. His demeanor had shifted, no longer the man who had been emotionally wounded, but someone with a quiet intensity that made Sarah nervous. She could tell something was different but couldn't quite place it. "Hey," she said, trying to keep things light, but her voice betrayed her uncertainty. Jason didn't say anything at first. Instead, he reached for her phone, the one that had caused him so much pain, and placed it in front of her. "We need to talk," he said, his voice low and calm. Sarah's stomach dropped as she realized what was happening. For a moment, she wanted to deny it, to explain herself, but she couldn't find the words. Jason already knew. And just as she thought the world couldn't get any worse, the doorbell rang. She froze. Jason smirked. "That's the other part of the plan?" When Sarah opened the door, Mark stood there, clearly confused but with no idea what was coming. Jason had invited him over under the pretense of having a friendly chat, a chance to clear the air. But this was far from friendly. As Mark stepped inside, Jason stood up, towering over him. "You're going to pay for what you've done," Jason said, his voice cold and deadly serious. Mark tried to protest, but it was too late. Jason had already set his trap. The next few hours were a blur of heated exchanges, broken promises, and a level of anger that Sarah had never seen before. Jason, once the passive partner, had taken control and he wasn't backing down. He made sure Sarah felt the weight of her actions. He showed her the lies she had told, the promises she had broken, and the trust she had shattered. But it wasn't just emotional retribution. Jason knew exactly how to hit them where it would hurt the most. The financial and social consequences of their actions began to unravel in front of Sarah's eyes. She watched helplessly as Jason exposed their secrets, piece by piece, stripping away everything they had once built. Mark wasn't spared either. His reputation, his career, and even his social life were threatened, leaving him with little to hold on to. In that moment, Sarah realized just how far Jason was willing to go. The man she had once seen as weak and too forgiving had become someone she barely recognized. And the worst part? She wasn't sure she even cared. All the guilt and remorse she had been holding on to seemed to vanish as she watched the man she had betrayed exact his revenge with cold precision. As the hours dragged on, Jason's revenge played out like a well-crafted script, one that left no room for mercy. When it was finally over, Sarah was left standing in the wreckage of her own choices, alone, ashamed, and with a life that would never be the same again. As the dust settled, Sarah stood there, stunned and speechless, unable to fully grasp what had just happened. The revenge had been swift and brutal, leaving her no space to apologize or make amends. Everything she had taken for granted was now in tatters. Her relationship, her trust in herself, and the life she thought she could control. Jason, on the other hand, seemed almost relieved. The weight of his heartbreak had lifted, replaced by a quiet satisfaction that he had regained control of his life. But there was no joy in his victory, only the hollow echo of loss. Sarah was left with nothing but the shattered pieces of her own choices, wondering if she would ever truly recover from the destruction she had caused. And as for Mark, his world had crumbled just as fast. The once confident and daring man had been exposed, stripped of his power, his reputation forever tarnished. The pain from Jason's revenge would follow him for years to come. As Sarah reflected on the chaos, she couldn't help but wonder, was it all worth it? Was the thrill of her affair really worth losing everything? In the end, both Sarah and Mark were left with nothing but the bitter taste of their actions. Sometimes, revenge doesn't just destroy the one who wronged you, it leaves everyone involved with a deep, lasting scar. So, to all of you watching, what do you think? Was Jason's revenge justified? Could you ever imagine yourself in his shoes? Let us know in the comments below. Your thoughts mean the world to us. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Unheard Stories for more wild, jaw-dropping tales. We've got so many more stories coming your way that you won't want to miss. Hit the bell so you're always in the loop. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the truth hurts more than the lie.